The rain had not stopped for hours, and the city lights blurred into trembling reflections on the soaked pavement. People hurried past one another, umbrellas bumping, shoes splashing, no one noticing the thin woman standing at the edge of the fast food restaurant's entrance. Her clothes were damp, her hands trembling, and in her arms she held a little girl wrapped in a faded blanket. The woman's eyes were filled with that haunting mix of desperation and determination, the kind of look that comes only when a mother has nothing left except the will to protect her child. She pushed open the glass door, praying silently that someone, anyone, would show her a sliver of kindness. If you believe the world needs just a little more kindness, second chances, and compassion, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. Inside, warmth and the smell of freshly fried food hit her, but instead of comfort, it only made the knot in her stomach tighten. She hadn't eaten properly in 2 days, and her daughter hadn't had a warm meal since yesterday morning. She approached the counter slowly, her voice cracking as she asked if there was any leftover meal they could spare, anything that was about to be thrown away. She wasn't asking for pity, just food, just enough so her daughter wouldn't cry herself to sleep hungry again. The manager, a thick-set man with too much pride and too little empathy, folded his arms and stared at her with disgust. He didn't see a mother who had fallen on hard times, he saw an inconvenience. He saw someone he believed didn't belong in his clean, bright restaurant. He smirked loudly enough for his employees to hear and judged her with words sharper than any knife. He mocked her tattered clothes, her quivering voice, her inability to pay. He told her that this was a place of business, not a charity, and that if she couldn't afford a simple kid's meal, she should try begging somewhere else. A few customers turned away, uncomfortable. A couple whispered, but no one stepped forward. No one defended her, and as the manager's voice rose, so did her shame. Her daughter stirred against her chest, and she gently rocked her, whispering soothing words, though inside she was breaking piece by piece. She had once been proud, strong, independent, but life had a way of unraveling even the toughest threads. What the manager couldn't know, was that a man had been sitting quietly in the far corner of the restaurant, observing everything. He wore a simple jacket, nothing expensive or flashy, but his eyes carried the weight of responsibility and leadership. He was the CEO of the entire restaurant chain, visiting stores unannounced to see how things truly operated. He believed in kindness, dignity, and treating every human being with respect. And now, sitting with a cup of coffee gone cold, he watched as one of his managers humiliated a hungry mother in front of strangers. The woman apologized softly, her voice barely above a whisper, and she turned to leave, tightening her hold on her daughter as if shielding her from the cruelty of the world. She did not cry. Life had taught her to cry only in silence. But the CEO saw her eyes glisten, saw the way her shoulders sank under unseen weight, and something inside him stirred. He rose slowly, thoughtfully, because he knew that at this moment, the woman did not need pity, she needed dignity. He approached her near the door, and though she flinched slightly, expecting another harsh remark, he gently placed a warm bag of food in her hands. A complete meal. Fresh. Hot. Not leftovers. And along with it, a small envelope. He asked nothing from her, did not ask for her story or her explanation. He simply told her, with a calm sincerity, that no mother should ever be shamed for trying to feed her child. She stared at him, stunned, whispering a fragile thank you. She almost tried to refuse the envelope, embarrassed, but he closed her fingers around it with reassuring firmness. He nodded once, warmly, and then walked past her toward the counter. She hurried out into the rain, clutching her daughter and the food that meant more to her right now than anything in the world. Once she was gone, the CEO turned to the manager. He did not yell. He did not curse. But the disappointment in his voice pierced heavier than anger ever could. He reminded the manager that a business could survive without profits for a day, but it could not survive without humanity. He explained that success meant serving people, not just customers with money, but human beings with stories, struggles, and hearts. And in front of the staff, he relieved the manager of his role, effective immediately. Compassion, he said, was not optional in his company. That night, the woman found a dry spot beneath a bus shelter and opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a voucher for months of free meals, and a card with a handwritten note. The CEO had left her his direct number, telling her to call if she ever needed help getting back on her feet. But pressed beneath that card was something else, a check. Not enormous, but enough to cover temporary housing and basic necessities. Enough to give her a chance to breathe again. Enough to give her daughter stability, if only for a while. For the first time in a long time, tears spilled freely down her face. Not tears of fear, nor of despair, but tears of relief, of hope. She looked at her daughter, who was happily eating warm fries from the bag, and she felt her heart swell. Maybe the world still held good people. Maybe kindness had not disappeared from humanity after all. Months passed. With help, she found a part-time job, then a full-time one. She saved money, secured a small apartment, and even enrolled in evening courses to rebuild her career. She kept the CEO's card in her wallet, not because she needed to use it, but because it reminded her of the moment her life changed, the moment a stranger decided she deserved dignity and hope, not judgment. She couldn't undo the hardships she had faced, but she could rise from them. And she did. And somewhere across the city, the CEO continued his unannounced visits, making sure that no one under his roof was ever denied the humanity they deserved. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more people who may need hope today. Before the ending, leave a comment telling us what you would have done if you had witnessed this moment. In the end, the woman realized something powerful. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can rewrite the darkest chapter of someone's life. And because one man cared enough to notice her pain, she now lived with a strength she never knew she had, and a reminder that compassion, even when rare, is still strong enough to change everything.